What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Tressence TV, the Power Producer Podcast. On this week's episode, we have Lake Savage Bellavance. He's our agent mentor, and he averages about $20,000 a month in sales every month since I don't know when. He was a car salesman, transferred over to life insurance. We're going to hear his story. If you're in car sales, like I know many of you are, I know I was when I first started in my sales career. It's a big change, and I think it's worth it. We got some new shirts made as well, Tressence Life shirts also, so getting that tested and put together for you. But let's hear from Lake himself. Here he is. Lake Savage Bellavance, like I said, he is our team mentor. He gives everybody guidance when they're doing their underwriting, mindset stuff, and anything that goes along with being successful in life insurance sales. So Lake, introduce yourselves. Tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, so I've been with TLG for almost 5 years now. Before that, I was in car sales, and before sales, I was a a produce manager at a grocery store, just stocking the shelves. I didn't really know what I was going to do with my life before then. But I live up in Maine, as far northeast as you can get. A lot of people always kind of question where Maine is, and I have to tell them that, but it's bigger than they think.
Yeah. Pretty cool. What car dealership were you at?
So I was at a Ford dealership in Westbrook, Maine, and I dealt with new Fords, new Lincolns, and then I did a lot of used cars as well.
Cool. Yeah, I was at a Ford dealership for like 8 weeks, and then I got a call from a sales manager up at Volvo, and where I sold cars. I sold cars in West Virginia and in Atlanta, Georgia. Was Volvo, Mercedes, Audi, Land Rover, Jaguar. So I was like, yeah, I'll start like tomorrow if I can. He's like, well, we'll slow down. We got to pass some drug tests and stuff. But I was at Ford for a little bit. Wasn't my favorite cars. It was hard for me to sell just because it was hard for me to connect to my buyer.
For real.
Yeah, Ford. Yeah, it was pretty
Ford.
cool.
It was easy in Maine. It was easy in Maine because a lot of it's trucks and SUVs.
Oh yeah, you need those.
Yeah, you need those, and then a lot of the Lincoln SUVs. The Navigator was nasty. That came back when I was there. And that really competed against the Escalade, so it was a pretty cool ride.
What piqued your interest from transitioning from car sales? Because you can make pretty good money in car sales. I know people who make over 200,000. I wasn't that lucky, but I was well over $100,000 working in car sales. So what kind of inspired you to transition into a different industry?
Yeah. So first off, my run with car sales was really good. I was constantly in the top 5 out of 16 guys. I averaged probably, and you got to remember, Maine's a smaller state, so it's not terribly impressive, but I did 17 to 22 cars a month. And
that's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it can, but you hear of guys in New York City, running 60 cars a month. It's crazy. They hire their assistants and whatnot.
Yeah.
But, I was keeping up with the veterans who had been there 20 years and they're only working referrals. I was straight hustling. So what piqued my interest was actually a period of negative events with the dealership. So as you know, working in car sales, they can change the pay plan at any time that they want.
Dude,
right? Like that. And sometimes it happens during deals, and I'll get into that in here in a second. So I loved, it's rare, but I loved all my managers. Sometimes when you're in the business, you got real hard asses, and a lot of negativity. And but I got along with my managers really well. I still friends with them to this day. I still hang out with them to this day in Gorham, actually.
That's funny.
And so what happened was I was making just around $100,000 a year, and I was trying to work my way up to be a finance manager. I knew that that's where the next step was to start making more money in the business. My district manager over there became my mentor, and he was teaching me on how to get to be a GM and train me how to be a GM. Because I thought, hey, if I could spend 10 years in the car business, I could be a GM making a ton of money. So they trained me for 6 months to be a finance manager, and the finance director was having me do deals. And I had already had an experience before with a small dealership doing finance, so it wasn't anything new to me. And then one day, they hired someone from the outside. The owner just totally bypassed me and hired someone on the outside after 6 months of training. So,
How'd that make you feel?
Crappy. That was brutal. I was doing a good job. I was getting attaboys all the time. And my managers was always rooting for me. And, but the owner's going to do what the owner's going to do. All right. And
Right, of
I don't know if he
course.
didn't have confidence in me or whatnot. So that started to pique my interest about other avenues. What else can I do? And before car sales, like I said, I had nothing. I didn't finish college. I was working at a grocery store, but I knew I wanted more from life. And ironically, someone who had taught me how to sell back end products like warranties, gap insurance, wear and tear and whatnot, he joined
Yeah.
TLG and he reached out to me. And I just said, hey, why not? I'll kind of check out this opportunity. I was a little skittish about it for a few weeks. And then he had me go to a boot camp. And that was that. Yeah. So the transition was I worked for 1 month. I worked both. And after my first month, I did 20K at TLG. And I just quit my job right then and there. And in car sales, there's no 2 week notice. You tell them you're leaving. They
Nope.
say, okay, pack your stuff.
Yeah, if you try to tell them you got a 2 week notice, they'll fire you on the spot. So tell me about that first month in when you first started with TLG.
So my first month, I got my license I think, within 7 days. So I did all my training. I got my license within 7 days. And
Wow.
from from the dealership, I just knew that I was eager to learn, and I think that was the biggest difference for me. Is my eager overrided the fear that I had, my eagerness. Because honestly, I was scared. Even though sales can transfer a little bit from insurance to car sales, it's a
Yeah.
totally new thing. I had no idea. How many hours did we spend on product research that they made us do at the Ford dealership? We had all those
Like
modules.
60,
Remember
70
those?
hours.
60, 70 hours of modules. So, I was scared going into it. But my first month I took right off because I read something by Joe Verdi about letting your ego go. And so I just got real humble and I
Yeah.
just followed instructions. Really, it was that easy. I followed instructions. Anything that was uncomfortable, I voiced my concern about it being uncomfortable. And, Aaron Gooderman and Nelson Alvarez, my uplines, just told me, hey, that's how you grow. I did it. And I hit 20K in my first month.
Yeah.
About a third of
Yeah,
that
and
was more market.
it's kind of funny. Yeah. So it's kind of funny that literally the system that we have, all you have to do is listen, and that case is proven again with Athena. She hit
Mm,
what 30 some thousand her first month, followed up by a $40,000 month. We're going to see what she does her third month this month,
right,
and she
right.
just listens to her upline, follows the script on what we have to offer, gets the leads, and puts her head down and work. So it's pretty crazy. So the first sale in life insurance, you did a lot of warm market. What numbers did you hit that month for sales?
So for my first month, I did 20K. A third of it was warm market. So, and it was very easy because I believed in the product. I saw what can happen when you don't,
Yeah.
when someone doesn't have money for burial costs. My grandmother had died, and everybody had to pitch in. People took out loans. My grandfather was being threatened with losing his house, so it was very important to me. So I wanted to make sure my family were protected, and I just asked them, "Hey, can I practice on you? Can I look at your current policies and see if there's something better out there so that I can better help my clients?" And from there, I found that 95% of them needed better coverage, and so that's where my first 7,000 came from. And then the last 13,000 came from TLG. Actually, you guys didn't even know these existed. These were called BB leads that were recycled like 40 times through 40 other agents. So I worked those and set a bunch of appointments. And back then, it was before COVID, so I was going face to face. I was traveling to houses, knocking on people's doors. I mean, if I got porched, which means someone left before you got to the appointment and said, "Hey, you remember Nelson saying, 'Hey, I'm at the beach,' right?" I left and just door knocked on all these leads that I have in that area. I set a pile of leads in Farmington, Maine, and I would just go knock on those doors and get appointments, and one call closes basically. So that's where my first month hit.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. 20,000 first month. And last year, what was your production?
Last year, my production was 235,000.
So still, you roughly average about 20,000 a month on
Mm-hmm.
most months is right in your wheelhouse.
Yep.
So
Yep.
pretty consistent. That on top of helping everybody else out. So a lot of you guys, if you don't know this, and how our company works is we have our upline chats, of course, and Lake helps me design cases for my clients to make sure that we're putting them in the best situation possible. Now, I have another person in my upline who we interviewed 2 weeks ago, episode 3. If you guys want to check that out, Aaron Guterman. But Lake helps me a lot. We have a big family-oriented structure, and it's very helpful to be able to get guidance from people who've been doing this longer than I have, who Lake gets guidance from people who've been doing it longer than he has, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Lake, when you were in car sales, let's take it back to the car sales again. Did you have any market volatility? Like, did your income fluctuate, or how did that work out? Were you pretty consistent?
Big time. In sales, any J months, January,
Income wise?
yeah, yeah. Income wise, it was all over the place. That sometimes it'd be really dry, and I would only hit 10 cars. And you have a draw in your commissions. So whatever they paid you weekly, they took it out of your commissions. And so like the J
Yeah,
months, July,
terrible.
January.
The draw check.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. June, those months were kind of hard because people weren't really looking for cars. And, plus car prices were rising and rising and rising pretty quickly. So, yeah, there were some tough times. And I was in the internet sales department. So our job was volume only. So I got a small commission, just $150 per car. I was busting my butt for $150 per car deal, dude. So it was pretty hard.
Wow. Yeah. So what's it been like? Plus your lead flow too, right? You're not really in control of how many leads you are. Otherwise, I'll just talk to as many leads as I can to get more sales, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. You'd pound the lot as hard as you could if you didn't have leads, That's what put me above a lot of other guys is I was willing to stay outside, even in the wintertime, because I wanted to meet that person before they came.
Insane because you're in sales and that's how you get paid. Essentially, you're just relying on the dealership. But there's
Mhm.
other industries too, like real estate, mortgage professionals, and stuff like that, who also struggle with that. So tell me, is it the same in life insurance?
So there's obviously going to be some down months in any sales industry. It's just
Yeah.
normal. But the best thing about the insurance industry is that if you're low, you just buy more leads. Those months you might have to spend a little bit more on leads, but you can keep the same momentum going. You don't have to wait for more leads to come in. You're not relying on the dealership. You're not relying on your real estate marketing company to send you those leads. And so if like January is a notoriously a slow month in December and January are slow in insurance. But I spend maybe 25 to 30% more on leads in those months, and I can perform the exact same as the other months. So I have total control to keep a smooth income.
Right, right. That makes sense. Which is something that I'm realizing too, which is the most beautiful thing about it is that we're really in control of how much we're able to produce, how many families we're able to help just by simply controlling your lead flow, which
Mm-hmm.
is pretty cool. So, I mean, I don't even know what to really tell those people who are just find a way, whatever industry you're in, find a way to increase your lead flow, whether if you have to go market yourself on Facebook if you're in car sales, which I personally did because
Same
you
here.
might as well. I've gotten maybe like one or two, three car deals, but I mean that's a lot of money that will add up or get me to my next bonus. So it's worth doing that self marketing
I
if
sold
you're in
three
an industry
Raptors that
like
way.
that.
I sold three Ford Raptors that way.
Yeah, yeah, especially hot cars too, because a lot more people want them. So it's just easier to attract that many people online because there's so many more eyes that see it.
Mm-hmm.
So transitioning into back to where we both were car sales professionals, when would you start to consider a change? Let's say they've been in car sales for a little bit, but the income's fluctuating too much. When would you consider a change out of it to a new environment?
Well, you're always going to be stuck in car sales because of the volatility. Like it's hard to rise up unless you're going to a manager, unless you're going to finance. Some people don't even want to do that. You and I have seen
Yeah,
lifers, sales lifers who are just salesmen. They've been doing it for 20 years. Look at their lives. Their lives are stuck
forever.
at the dealership. That's all they know. They're all little nuts, but it's wanting more and wanting to take control of your time. That's really what was a big part of it was I could take control of the time on how much I worked instead of being stuck at the dealership for 80 hours a week,
Yeah.
coming in on days off to finish deals because I didn't want to split it with another salesman. So that was the biggest thing, working so much for the man, working so hard for $150 commission. I knew I was meant for more, and the catalyst was being passed up for finance. So that was the change for me. But I believe if you're a car salesman
Yeah.
and you're sick and tired of being sick and tired and having to say no to your children's baseball games, having to say no to family events on Saturdays or Sundays, you can take your time back with insurance sales.
Yeah, yeah, I agree 100%. Plus, those sales lifers too, their income really hasn't increased that much. They might be more consistent with their sales, but as they get older, they're not aggressive with the fresh ups or with the leads because they're just relying on the referral. So their income's probably stayed roughly about the same. However, with insurance, you're getting paid so many different ways. Your income is most likely always going to increase upwards, which I think is also super important. We talk at conference about the 6 different ways you can get paid
Mm-hmm.
just from helping families out, which was super impressive. So it goes from what was it? Micah Ustry was saying you get paid on your first initial commission, your back end money, your residual money if it is a whole life policy or universal life policy. And
Or
then
annuity.
if you are hiring agents, you get paid on that commission, that back end money, and then that residual as well. So that's 6 ways to get paid versus just, and maybe car sales, let's say 2 ways: financing, you get bonuses, and then selling the car.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, the lifers in the car business, I would say maybe 1% of them work hard enough to build a book of business. The rest of them are still just like day ones. They're still just
Yeah,
working freshies. They may have a little bit more referrals, but they don't try hard enough to create a book of business. So, when do you get a promotion in the car business, Trey? It's only when you get promoted to a new position. You're not getting any raises.
right.
And then if
Oh,
you
dang.
increase your yeah, if you can negotiate, if you get better, you can
Yeah,
negotiate a higher draw, but that's just more money coming out of your commission, right? So with the insurance
right.
industry, I'm in complete control. I've been able to give myself 6 or 7 promotions by myself from hitting numbers. So it's
Yeah,
been
which
pretty.
is pretty cool that with our team, all you have to do is produce more, you get raises. You don't have to recruit if you don't want to. You can just work harder, sell more, get paid more for selling more, which I mean that should be how it works for everybody. I wish
Absolutely.
I wish it did work that way.
Yeah, yeah. So for a lot of those sales guys in the car business, it sounds a little bit too good to be true. But you may be getting paid 15 to 20% of the front end on your vehicles. Imagine what you could do with, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90% commissions on insurance sales that average $1,000 a piece. Just imagine that. And it's
Right.
true. Trey and I will show you our bank accounts if we have to.
Right. So, and, and you're getting paid a whole lot faster too. You don't have to wait for accounting to put
Yeah.
together your
Or title
deal.
to
You don't
come
have to wait
in.
for an insurance card, driver's license to come in. You don't have to wait for bank funding, whatever it
Mhm.
might be. So you get paid a whole lot faster. Have to rely on less people to get paid, which I know my dealership had all sorts of accounting issues. They were always weeks behind. I would get to a point where I had like 3, 4, $5,000 in commissions waiting to get paid on just because accounting couldn't keep up with stuff. So
Yeah. Or
definitely
get,
did not like that. Was late on rent a few times, late on some bills a few times, and I'm like, I need to get paid. And
right.
there are just issues that would arise from it, which is frustrating.
Very.
So if you're talking to a person who is starting in sales in general, do you have anything for them that would be your most valuable lesson?
Most valuable lesson, I would say the same thing for me is let your ego go. If you're a former salesperson and you think you know it all, start over at square one. Realizes that there's some
Yeah,
similarities between car sales and insurance sales, but humble yourself and listen to your upline. Here at TLG, we have the blessing of having uplines that care about us and just don't let us, sit there and try to work on our own. So ask a lot of questions and attend every single meeting you can. Be a sponge. And with that,
Yeah.
you can reach
Yeah.
high levels of production on average within 90 days. You know, maybe you're not going to be a first month 20K producer like me, or a 30K first month producer like Athena, but within 90 days, you know, you're going to, if you're like that, you'll be able to hit your numbers pretty fast.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that's a problem I had when I first started too, transitioning from car sales, being a sales manager. I was like, okay, I know how to sell because I was sitting in this seat making tens of thousands of dollars a month. I know how to sell, of course. When I was picking up the phone for the first few weeks, I wasn't selling because my ego was such in the way of being able to help my clients that I wasn't doing anything right. And but in my brain, I'm like, no, I know how to sell. No, I know how to sell. And it wasn't until I let that all go, plugged back in, pretended
Yeah.
like I forgot everything about selling, and then now it's really starting to take into effect of my old skills that I'm able to apply into a new place. So yeah,
Yeah.
I definitely agree to leave the ego at the door. Check that guy out. He's not welcome in until you can manage him, which it can be a beast.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
So here's kind of a personal question with life insurance. I know getting back your weekend, spending more time with your family. Has life insurance done anything else for your life that you never really thought was possible?
So, you know, yeah, it has. My first year, I made more income than I ever did at the car dealership. Net income, you know, I probably maxed out at 110 at the car dealership. My first year in insurance, I was number 5 in TLG in the entire company. And, you know, I'm not trying to brag here. You know, I don't, I know sometimes it's
Yeah,
bad taste to talk about your income, but it's real. I made 150,000 my first year. So I added $40,000 to my income. It's allowed me and my wife to travel a lot more. It's hard to get time off at the dealership. So, you know, but now we have the money to travel. Now we can go places that we've never been before. I was able to buy her and I brand new vehicles. You
right,
know, I got my dream truck my second year in the business. So it has changed a lot for us. Money provides more experience. It doesn't buy happiness, but it provides more experiences in your
right.
life. And I use it as a tool to be able to help my less fortunate family members. I use it as a tool to be able to have the experiences me and my wife have been wanting to have in life. And I use it for my enjoyment. I love to fish. So,
Yeah,
you know, I can go out on a Wednesday morning in the middle of the week and fish for 5 hours and come home and crush 6,000 in annual premium. You know, it's, you know, get paid to fish basically.
literally.
So yeah, that's how it's changed our lives.
Yeah,
It's going to change even more. You know, we're working towards building a large agency, and when that hits, I mean, I'll be out of sales, and I'll just be able to do what I'm passionate about, and that's training new people and
yeah,
showing them the opportunity that we have here, because it's unlike anything else I've been in.
yeah.
Hmm.
No, not even close. It's honestly crazy. I'll ask you more questions about your goals here in a second. But even with going on vacation and stuff, if you want to, early in the morning, few hours, you can jump on your laptop, make a few phone calls, take a few phone calls, and make some money while you're on vacation. I don't know of any other, let's say, job that you can really do that unless you are the direct business owner running a sales, another sort of online sales, which is also extremely powerful.
Hmm. It sure is. It sure is. You know, there's always downtime on vacations. You know, I'm pretty regimented about my sleep. So typically, unless I've had a long night, I'm up at, you know, 6:30, 7 o'clock. You know, my wife likes to get up at 8:39. You
Yeah,
know, she's a night owl. So those times during vacations, I can make calls and make sales. I had an emergency trip to go see a grandfather in Florida who wasn't doing so well. And we saw him. And then, you know, we went home at 4 p.m. and we're just sitting in a hotel at 4 p.m. And I'm like, oh, well, I'm just going to pick up dials. And I made like 3,000 AP while I was down there, you know, visiting him because there was some
yeah,
downtime. You know, I worked 2 hours for 3,000 AP. I mean, come on, man. Why wouldn't you? Right. Well, instead of being bored, I can actually be productive.
right. That's crazy. While on vacation is crazy. So transitioning a little bit into, oh, anyways, where's some of the favorite places you've been able to travel to?
Nashville, Tennessee has been one of them. You know,
Yeah.
we kind of piggybacked on Vegas when we had conference out there. You know, Orlando, Florida for Universal Studios. I'm a sucker for Harry Potter. and the rides down there and the world that they have down
Oh
there. So
wow.
that's one of my favorite spots. And then we like to go to Vermont a lot. Vermont's a great place for fall time. That's where we spend our anniversary. And then we have plans to go to Yellowstone and see the Grand Canyon. So those are our next spots. Austin, Texas, Seattle. Those are the spots that we want to hit next. So my goals are to consistently write 40 to 50,000 annual premium this month. We have at conference we just dropped new ways to do that, and I'm super pumped to be able to double my income just on my personal production, and then just keep building a
Yeah.
team to. I'd love to have $1 million agency within the next couple of years, with some new stuff that also came out for recruiting. You know, a lot of people are in our position where they're getting laid off at dealerships, they're getting laid off in the mortgage industry, they're getting laid off in real estate. And if they knew about this opportunity, I don't think they'd ever go back. Like I have no goals of going back and doing a car dealership. Being your own boss is too great. And as far as future goals outside of TLG, it's to be able to help my wife with her, support her digital design business that she's creating, and help her grow that and flourish that, because she's a very talented digital designer.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Does she make your logo? Does she make logos, or what does she make?
Yeah, she made my logo. She does also artistic design. She does graphic design, and she's really good at ad space
Yeah.
design. So she's created all the images for my ads that I've
Wow, that's
created.
pretty cool. That's pretty
Yeah, yeah,
handy.
it
You
is
charge a
very
lot of people
handy.
on Fiverr charge a lot for it.
Yeah, exactly. And she doesn't charge me a thing. She just loves me. So I tend to spoil her for that.
So got to meet Lake for the first time, and I think my biggest takeaway from conference, one of the biggest takeaways was one, listen to everybody's story on what they were willing to risk and how much they were willing to commit. I'm sitting there like, if I'm an agent in the back of the room right now who's in licensing or uh, is on the fence about joining, I would be 100% sold listening to how crazy these people's stories are. And if I wasn't sold, I mean, their life has to be rainbows and sunshine every day, because there's no way that a lot of those stories we heard were way worse of a situation than I was, way worse than a lot of people's situation. And look, they're making huge amounts of money, and the
Dude.
sacrifice is worth. So that was my biggest takeaway from conference. But for someone who is on the fence, like for life insurance sales, what would you want them to know?
Well, it's just put your head down and get through the learning curve. I mean, you're going to be uncomfortable, but just realize that you're having conversations with people who've asked for help for life insurance. These are not cold calls. So just put your head down and get through the
Yeah.
grind. And once you start making, I mean, it's so easy to make $10,000 in 1 month in this business. And so if you just have 6, 7, 8 appointments a week and you bust your butt to get there, on the other side, you're going to look back and say, wow, what was I complaining about? Because I just had all this money rolling in. I got to help a ton of different families. I feel good about what I do. I feel good about the sales that I do. So just keep your head down and just grind it out. Ask for permission to be a little bit lopsided with your partner. If you do have a partner, ask for them for that support to pick up the extra chores around the house so that you can really focus and get through that learning curve. Because once you are on the other side of that, all it's about is just keeping momentum and keeping your schedule solid. And then the money will start to flow pretty consistently. Yeah.
Yeah, so I definitely agree, especially with the spouse part. I saw a lot more husband and wife teams than I realized were actually among us. So I thought that was pretty special too, and glad my girlfriend was there with us, watching everything too, because it helps support me too, because she gets to see that buy-in, how much it's changed people's lives as well. Just instead of just me telling her about it, what I've learned, um, hanging out with my team and stuff. And yeah, I would definitely do research too on the company that you're going to be joining, because a lot of companies are not even close to the same when starting in life insurance sales. A lot of companies make you only work warm market. There are no leads to buy. The commission is far less. So I would definitely do some research on different companies beforehand. We have great training, great teamwork, great training, weekly team calls,
Really.
and do events in real life. So that's a little bit
It's
about
true.
us and how we operate. We got
Oh yeah.
some really special things coming. Lake and I were sitting next to each other talking about this new recruiting tool, and Lake's like, dude, we're gonna be rich. And I'm sitting there dying laughing. So I see the vision that they have, and I'm like, holy smokes, this is going to be insane. I was like, dude, 100%. And now all we have to do is put the work in. We got the blueprint to do so. So we just gotta literally put the work in.
Yep, that's exactly it,
And you're
man.
right.
So it's
Going back to what you said about feeling good about your work. When I was working at the car dealership, I was remember texting my dad and my mom about it because I was making a lot of money, like way too much money for my age. An average person my age, like double. And I'm sitting here like I don't feel fulfilled. Like, yeah, all my bills are paid. I'm able to do whatever I want whenever I want if I can get off work, but I don't feel fulfilled. Like I don't feel like I'm doing
yeah,
good to the world just by selling cars. So that was a big change when I changed to life insurance because I'm directly affecting individual people on two different scales: the families that I help and the agents that I hire and are able to change their lives financially, spiritually, in whichever way. So a lot more fulfilling doing this. It's truly special.
absolutely. That the fulfillment thing was so important to me because I had the same call with my mother. I was just like, Mom, I've
Yeah.
been doing this. I'm doing well, but I don't feel the fulfillment. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with my life because selling cars isn't doing for me. And now that I'm helping families, not only protect them from financial ruin, but helping them build some personal wealth with some other areas, helping them protect their current wealth and then helping agents do the same I wake up with a smile on my face every morning because of it. I'm actually excited to do what I get to do.
Like, where can people find you if they want to reach out to you, learn more about you, and learn what you do for your team? Where can people find you?
People can find me right on Facebook at Lake Savage Bellavance. I'm the only one on there. I've got a lot of content on there. I'm not going to give up my YouTube channel because that's private proprietary training. But if you want to know the best of the best of how to get to do this, you can reach out to me or Trey personally. We can help you do that, get you licensed and set up. And then you can find me on Instagram at Lake.Bellavance.
Cool, awesome. Well, thank you, like, for your time. Excited to start this new recruiting. This new be hopefully I get selected. I am still new and pretty green, but hopefully I can prove myself and get into that group. So I'd love to be able to get into that recruiting group because it's going to be crazy. On top of other things that we got going for this year, so super excited about this year. Like, thank you for your time today. And if anybody wants to reach out to him, I will put his social media stuff in the comments below so you guys can learn more about Lake. If you're up in Maine and want to get in touch with him, you'll know how to find him.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Trey, having me on here. It's an honor to be on here. And even though you're new, man, you're a hustler. People need to pay attention to you because you're going some places. And been doing this 5 years. You kind of get an eye for talent and hustle. And Trey knows how to work. Trey knows where he's going. So if you want to join a hot growing team, that's definitely Tressence. So proud of you, man.
Thank you. Just getting started, so hopefully trying to be a disruptor as we heard this
Let's
past
go.
weekend. So
Let's go. All right, man. Thanks.